Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
A little bit older than you.
I'm not touching this topic. I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
Mediocre, mid-table, rabble, aren't
So I
they?
just want to be able to talk as much
If you
crap.
play a night game, he has to turn the bloodlines on.
No one would have believed that he would keep his job for as long as he had. But
It's happening. Hold on to your hats, boys. Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. Tonight I've got Ash, Stevie and Simon's with us. And joining us later on, I've got Alex from the Sheffield Star in a pre-recorded multimedia extravaganza. It's all happening tonight, kids. Obviously, we're live, so obviously you can see some of your comments coming in already. Get involved and we'll talk about some things that you send because Ash is going to man the comments for us because he tonight is our babe in the booth. Now, always, mate, always. Simon, how was your weekend? All right, yeah?
Yeah, fine, thank you. It was all good.
Well, that's lovely stuff.
Taxi for Tramline's son, and that was it. Just taxiing my teenage son
I think we're
to
worse
and from
journey in
Hillsborough.
Sheffield to make, if I'm honest, mate.
Yes.
What about you, Stevie?
I'm still on come down from last week and meeting my idol. So yeah, it's been a surreal few days. But yeah, all good. A lot of travelling this weekend, but back in Blighty, ready to rock and roll.
How was the post-holiday hangover? All right for you, yeah?
Yeah, little tired. Good to see the kids. Back in the country, ready to go. Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's go. What about you, Ash? What about the busiest weekend in the UK? What did you get up to? Oh, did you mow the lawn?
I hoovered it. Well, no, my good lady hoovered the lawn because I got plastic grass because it was the best thing I've ever bought. No, not a great deal. I watched the boxing Saturday night and didn't really do much yesterday. So I fell off the wagon as well. I had a couple of beers and I hadn't had a drink for 3 weeks. So I had a couple of beers watching the boxing. It was good.
Well, I got threatened by a man who did the pistol gun fingers in the side of my head while I was DJing on Saturday, and I need to open this up to the interwebs now, so I need you to get involved. So we'll come back to it. Yeah, full on like pushed me with the fingers. Now, bear in mind, this was a tiny man. He had long hair and he had a Spain shirt on. Right, you need to remember that detail. So he came up and he went, "Rob, I told you shut the fuck up, Rob." Right, went straight in, and I went, "Oh," and you know, it's easy to disarm a geezer by going, "Oh." Well, and it turned out I'd been ragging on this table all afternoon. It's what you call personality DJing. It's what it's part of it. When he walked in, I was doing the steps routine to Tragedy. It's that type of event, right? You know what I mean? And I went, "You can't come in here, you're too chav," that type of thing. And what turned out to be his girlfriend was walking across the dance floor, and as she was walking across, the floor's covered in prosecco. I don't know if you've ever seen these girls as afternoon Saturday brunches, but the feral. And I went on the microphone, "Watch yourself in that dress," because she was about to fall over, and I saw her go in, and there'd been TNA everywhere, and I thought I was genuinely performing like "Be careful, babe," like, you know what I mean? I went, "Just watch yourself in that dress," and boyfriend came over, absolutely raging with me, and said, "Oh well, fuck you, what the fuck?" Started bare chatting, bare words at mans, right? So. At this point, I'm thinking, right, am I the asshole? Because, you have that question. You said, am I being out of order here? This is what they pay me to do. So when I decided to convince myself that that I was in the right, because it's me, I decided to call him Cockerella all afternoon because he was like he had long hair, Spain shirt, and I made it significantly worse. So on that bit, yes, I'm the asshole. But, if the bit before, let me know, because I can't work out if I deserved it. And if I get fired from that gig, I'm going to need some HR backup. Anyway, welcome to the show. Friday, we played Werder Bremen.
We were worried about filling an hour.
I'm on it. We had 4 half-an-hour quarters against Werder Bremen. Very much a game of two halves. The first half being, a bit of an experimental squad, that type of thing. The second half being more closer to what you'd see as a starting 11. Simon, did you manage to get to see much of it? It was in the middle of the day and people did have school.
Yeah. Apart from Steve, obviously, because schools are out for summer.
These teachers.
Yeah, I saw bits of it. I saw a bit of the when we were 1-0 down. I don't know where that fell in regards to the halves, quarters, eighths, thirds.
That was very much in the first few minutes.
Yeah, and yeah, it obviously wasn't the team that we've been purchasing. And then I saw a bit of the second half after I got home from work. So no, I didn't see any of it really.
It wasn't a classic, that first half, was it, Ash? It was a tough watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I did, and luckily I was working from home on Friday. It just fell right, which was brilliant, wasn't it? But I had meetings all day, in and out. So I had the working laptop, and then a personal laptop with a game on there. And yeah, it was pretty good YouTube stream, to be honest. I know we've had advanced ones before and things, but I think it was a pretty good setup by whoever Werder Bremen who did it, hosted it. It was good. I mean, yeah, the team for the first 30 minutes, shall we say, it changed. I think they had 3 or 4. We made 3 or 4 subs on the quarter, shall we call it? And then at the half, there was wholesale changes. And yeah, like you said, Dan, the first 30 minutes were it was really weird because you don't play that, and I don't know who came up with that. If it was a Bremen thing or if it was Danny Rock, whoever come up with that concept to try and get the legs in the minutes of the guys. But it was just really weird how it planned, how it turned out, should I say. It was all right. It was good. I think, obviously, you could see the Bremen had a lot more. I think their season starts this week coming, and I think that was their last game of pre-season. So I think they were obviously a week ahead of us, and maybe a bit more with the signings. We've made a lot of signings, so. But yeah, the first half it didn't show much. I obviously ended up 2-0 down.
There's been a few comments, Ash, if you want to smash them up, in reference to Pierce Charles absolutely smashing in a decent performance. He was there was a great double save from him at one point during that first period, and you know, that kid's going to be great. I am very much now on the bus of let's get Pierce Charles a decent loan move, like League One. Like he can do it. He can do it. Let's get him out there playing some minutes. Were you travelling that day, Stevie?
No, I was out and about, so I caught bits and I was jumping on the stream. So I did see little bits here and there, but it was sort of 10-minute pockets. I managed to catch the highlights afterwards. What I would say would be that, you know, to the point around Bremen starting, whether it be next week or the week after, both them and Salzburg were significantly further on in terms of their pre-season prep. So I don't read too much into the results. And let's be right, we're talking about Bundesliga, Champions League standard teams that we've played against. Little old Sheffield Wednesday, as is at the moment in the bottom end of the championship, going to mid-table. I mean, no shade or slight on this whatsoever. When we talk about the teams in and around us that are playing pre-season friendlies at teams like Chesterfield, with due respect, or non-league teams, or lower league teams, we have set up our pre-season this year, and there is a clear game plan in terms of who we're playing and why we're playing them. We played against Salzburg because of how they set up and the kind of football that they play. Werder Bremen offered a different sort of test, if you like, in terms of what they would force us to do. And I know, I forget which way around it was, but there was talk about us setting up to play in possession against one of them, and setting up with how we would play out of possession against the other team. So there's a clear game plan that's been going on around, the way that rules set up his pre-season prep this year. And it's been fantastic to see. Again, I don't read too much into the Salzburg result, but the fact that we've managed to come from 2-0 down with what is still very much, a patchwork first team lineup, if you like, because that first team lineup on Sunday the 11th, I think it is, won't be the same 11 that started the game Friday or against Salzburg, or even this Saturday, I don't think. So, it's promising.
Yeah, a wonderful video from Callum Patterson going into that, actually, on the Sheffield Wednesday outputs. But we'll talk about the Sheffield Wednesday official YouTube content coming up later on, because I've been in an absolute rabbit hole on it the last 2 hours, and it's impressed the hell out of me. Now, Simon, 14 changes at half time. There was a lot of changes there, wasn't there? And a lot of change in how we played.
Yeah, you could see. Well, we moved towards the senior team, didn't we? First half, and hats off to Danny in regards to he's taken a lot of the young kids over to Germany. He's seen it as a building task for the entire team, and he hasn't just taken the first 15, 16 who would probably play on that Sunday. And I think that's admirable that he's taken some of the young kids as well. And I'll reiterate about Piers Charles. I thought he was superb. He came in part way through. So I think he'd been with Northern Ireland, hadn't he, in the Euros. So I was really impressed with him, and to give them a blooding against what is effectively a team that finished 9th in the Bundesliga last season. No, they're no mugs. They're no mugs.
Well, yeah, Kevin De Bruyne used to play there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're not rubbish, and to turn up like we did in that second half and get 2 goals back after being 2-0 down, when in a game that didn't really matter, I thought was really good.
No, I think that was closer to the team that we're going to see, Danny's first team, when we kick off the start of the season. Also, as well, it looked really hot. It looked really awful. Yeah. It looked really, really hot. So I think the 4 quarters was a really good take on fitness levels. And I think he's been working really hard, hasn't he, at Grassau, the training camp. I mean, you look at some of these videos, and there was one, I think, with Patterson coming on the pitch, starting the day off. He looked shattered before they started.
And he actually looks in good shape at the minute, Pat.
Yeah, he
looking
does.
At that video. He had a smashing jawline, made me feel like a bit of a big stag. Ash, there's been a lot of comments in reference to the Werder Bremen game, yeah?
Yeah, but about like individual players, like I've flashed a couple up there, like Gassama and Masaba look good from Matt Strickland. I totally agree with that. I think they are. I think a pre-season for both of them and a good start. He's gonna say, because last season, obviously, we know the story about last season. I mean, the pre-season wasn't one. Obviously, the first 18 games, there weren't 18 games. We'd started on game 19, didn't we? Really. So it's for looking at some of the players that are playing and in pre-season, I quite like the look of them. Lost Boys done you there. He said De Bruyne played for Wolfsburg, not Werder.
Oh, no.
So
Right.
yeah. Well,
I
think he left into from Chelsea. I think he left Chelsea, went to Wolfsburg, played really well, and then Man City spunked a load of money on him.
Is that what it was? Because I'm sure I Googled it, because I was like, I'm sure he played for this team.
Yeah. Jan Valery as well. He's got some good. Yeah, he looked good. I'm quite excited. I think I can't pronounce it. I'm going to say Ingelsson. I can't remember. I can't pronounce his first name. Svante, that's it. Svante. Yeah. I think he looked good. Really did.
Yep.
I think
he's a big, excited. Sexy man, isn't he?
I'm excited to see him. I think someone online was saying that he were playing like he plays as a number 10 or out on wide. And I'm thinking, I don't think Danny sees that. I think we've got plenty of players in them positions. I thought he'd have got him as a box-to-box midfielder or something like that myself. But yeah, I like the look of him. Yeah,
I thought he might look chicken him in that midfield triangle.
Yeah, Slappy Gilmore. Masaba showed some real moments of composure, which I think let him down last season. Hopefully, this is a side of the game he's worked on.
Let's hope. I spoke to Alex Miller earlier on. I'm going to play that video in a second, and I was speaking about Masaba and that goal. I thought he took it really well after initially thinking he's absolutely ballooned it. I'll tell you what, shall we? Werder Bremen. Kevin De Bruyne did play for Werder Bremen. He was on loan for a season in 2012. So, jot that down. Come at Mans and his Wikipedia knowledge. But yes, listen, I'll tell you what, I'll play this video now. Now, lads, 2 things on this. First one, this is the first time I've got this multimedia working, right? Second one, the mics are still going to be hot while it's playing in the background. So, be careful.
Mute yourself. Mute yourself.
I would say mute yourselves. Folks, you can still get comments on. Ash, you can still flash them up. I'd recommend you give this a watch, folks. Now, in terms of, I had this ready when I thought I was going to get Joe and Alex. So it was going to be Fudge and the Star Boys. You know what I mean? That's what I was going to go with. So we've got a new jingle coming up, lads.
And then Masaba and Gassama popped up.
Yeah. Now, brace yourself, chaps, because there's a new jingle coming. Now, let me see if I can work this. Get your comments in, folks. You can still do it. Fudgy and the boys. Okay, so this is the pre-recorded bit that Fudge has just handed over to. Thanks, Fudge. And now we're out live still, so you can't say fuck or bugger, Alex. All right. We're just with Alex Miller from the Star. Joe's been given a day off. Who agreed to that?
It's absolutely disgusting.
The very idea that either of us should ever get a day off, and to be fair, we don't, because like we still have to take calls and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, on my own today. So what? It's Monday, so Tuesday's newspaper is going to be an absolute stinker.
Usually, when Joe has some time off, there's normally something happening, and you're normally sunning yourself on holiday or something. Is that normally what happens?
I think in terms of like the really big stuff, so managers leaving, managers being appointed. One of us has been off for the last half dozen, which leaves the other one obviously scrambling around, trying to speak to people, trying to get this, that, and the other. So yeah, I missed, I think 3 or 4 in a row. So my record's pretty decent.
I love the idea of you sat on a sunbed somewhere going rock, 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 just laughing away at Joe losing his mind. But the reason I've got you on here, Alex, obviously we had a friendly last Friday. It was televised on their YouTube channel, so a lot of people have seen it. Not like the one that we made you go roaring on that last week. Yeah. But I wanted to see if there were any talking points that we could extract from the game against Werder Bremen. Obviously, I think we made something like 14 substitutes, didn't we? So there's clearly still a lot that Danny's trying a lot to work out and things like that. How do you feel it went, and what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I think for a start, obviously, the game was dominated by the format, which was 4 half-hour quarters. I think both managers wanted to get that old cliche minutes in the legs of the players and build up the volume and all that sort of stuff. But it more or less centered around 2 teams playing an hour each.
Yeah.
And I think the big talking point coming away from it, the team that played the second hour looked there or thereabouts for what you might expect, to line up
for both teams, or just purely on a Sheffield Wednesday perspective.
I think Werder were a little bit more mixed, but the suggestion was from a couple of their journalists that the second hour was their stronger, which is the one that Wednesday beat 2-0. But I think certainly from a Wednesday perspective, there's a few names in there that will obviously fancy their chances of getting into the team for Plymouth, but all the big dogs really were in the second hour's team, and obviously, lost 2-0 in the first half. Some good moments in there in terms of the stuff that Danny's talked about. Playing through the lines, playing from the back, pressing, all that sort of stuff. Some good stuff there in the first half, but the second half was really impressive. I think Wednesday were the better team, and to do that against a side of Werder's quality is no small achievement, pre-season friendly or not.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to get you on, because obviously with the lack of British commentary that was obviously on the Werder YouTube channel, and the fact that it was absolute trash that first hour, I can't see many people making it through to the second hour, which is why I kind of wanted to get you on to talk about it, because it was a tough watching place as well. It really was. I mean, all right, so Sheffield Wednesday were 2-0 down. Any glaring errors to look out for from somebody that we might consider a first teamer, for example?
I think there was probably a couple of moments. I think Marvin Johnson came under the spotlight, didn't he, for the second goal? He just lost his man there, and in an hour of few chances, I don't think Werder had a huge amount of chances. Pierce Charles made a few good saves. They were certainly the better team, weren't they, and probably worthy a 2-0 win. But I think Marvin will possibly be disappointed when he's looked at that back. It was Gabi Ogtabayo that was caught out on the ball for the first goal, which
is a shame, because I felt like he was having a decent game. Actually, I felt like he was playing all right.
I always feel horrible sort of mention this when there's it's young lads, but there'll be far more experienced players that have made similar mistakes. This is what's going to happen. With Danny and the players have been so candid with just how hard they are going to play from the back and how consistently they're going to try and do it. It's not going to be every time. We saw that in the second half, but there are going to be mistakes made, and they're on a voyage of discovery, if you like, and occasionally they will come a cropper to it. But I think there was it was a dull first hour, wasn't it? And Wednesday obviously didn't create many chances. I think Chalabar forced a good save. Smudge and Pato had headers that They might have wanted to do better
Smudge
with. But
looked absolutely bloody exhausted at one point. There was a close up on him where he was getting his ass up off the floor, and I tell you what, he looked like he'd ran a bloody marathon. And bear in mind, it's not like Smudge is one of them, chase it down to the last man type of players without being too unkind.
He's can I tell you how hot it was as well? It was absolutely roasting hot. Like, no coverage at all. There was no breeze the entire week. It was mad. But yeah, the players really went through it, and Smudge is an interesting one because I think there's probably going to be some chatter develop in the next weeks about his future. He offers something else, doesn't he? And I think it was interesting watching the role that he was asked to play in that first half hour, because as someone that's had a long and successful career as an out and out target man, he was dropping deep. He was doing stuff. He was putting in a lot of legs, and the pressing and the intensity of what Wednesday are being asked to do. It was a very small pitch, so there was very little resting time. You were always in the game, and I think that had its benefits. And also, I think we spoke to Josh Windass after the game, and he had an expression of a man that had run a marathon. So they'd obviously been worked hard. That was part of it. And again, they got a lot out of it. And that second hour gave lots and lots of reasons for enthusiasm, I think.
Let's get to the goals. I thought Masaba took his goal, and I thought he dropped his backside. If I'm honest, he took one, then another touch, and I thought, he's fluffed his lines there, and then he put it away. There was a point where after that goal and then the second one, I did make a little noise on a pre-season friendly that were 2-0. I went, get in, go on.
On the boys. I think what was pleasing about that one, and certainly speaking to Josh and Danny afterwards, we've obviously been privileged to go and watch a couple of training sessions, and the movement and the way that goal was structured in the build-up was very similar to things they've been working off in. We went to one session at St George's and one over in Germany, and it was straight away you looked at it, as a layman, I don't know what I'm bloody talking about with this stuff, and you go, oh, that's what they've been doing. It's all working a bit, and yeah, it was a good finish, and I think without making too much of a play of it, because it's a friendly and all the rest of it, Anthony, for all his huge success last year, is a player that has maybe come under criticism for his composure in front of goal. And while it looked easy because he was 5 yards from the goal and all, with the keeper rushing on, defenders around him, I thought he did really well to finish it. So props to Josh for starting the goal. Jan Valery obviously cut the ball back, and it was a good finish from Anthony as well.
Yeah, and then another one from the gas man. This is a player I'm excited to see more of, because I feel there's a hell of a player in there, and I really hope that moving forward he's someone that we can bring on. Is that something you agree, or do you think they might just pin him out on loan given what you've seen? You've seen more than I have, Al.
No, I certainly can't see him going out on loan. I think Danny's a big fan of him. I think the question marks around Jedi are more on the defensive side, and the understanding that there's going to be a real step up in the information and the detail that the players are going to be asked to do. And that's something that I think at times it's fair to say that Jedi sort of struggled with last season. But hopefully the last few weeks will stand him in good stead. And he missed the Salzburg game without going into it. There was no injury issue there, so he's fit and firing and good to go. And as you say, it was a really good finish. And I can't remember who it was against last year, but his goal last year that I think got everyone quite excited. Yeah. That sort of cut in and bend. If he can make that little trademark, that'd be a nice thing.
Yeah, I'll be happy with that. Make it his own little iron robin. I've come out of that because obviously that goes on for about 15 minutes. What I will do, I will put that straight into the stream on YouTube. So if you want to watch the full thing, it's about 15 minutes long. But I appreciate you people are sat watching us live, and we want to interact, right? That's what we want to do. That's what we're going to do. But there's some great points there from Alex. But there was one that I wanted to bring up with you, Stevie, specifically. Thank you. You can all come off mute now. I appreciate that, folks. But I'm really glad that worked. But Stevie, I wanted to come to you about this one, about Marvin Johnson, because this is interesting for me. Now, Marvin Johnson has become a bit of a provider over the last couple of seasons, and he's got the most amount of assists, and he came back as the Phoenix from the Flames last season, and part of the turnaround for our season. But he was also the first to admit that he wasn't the best defensively, and it looks like we're going to try something new at the back. Do you feel like Johnson's way of playing might change somewhat, or it might go as far as him being in trouble? I don't think, he's still one of our best players. I don't think that would be fair. But, how do you feel like Johnson's going to fit into this entire thing?
Okay. I think if we play 3 at the back, that will evolve into a 5 out of possession potentially. And he plays as a left wing back rather than an out and out full back. I think he'll be all right. I genuinely do. I think historically we've had sort of conversations and we've looked at data and stats around players being a little bit older, and we've tried to get it was well sort of documented. We needed to get the age of the squad down. Danny hasn't plumped for kids here, has he? So if you're good enough, you're old enough with Danny Rule. So I don't read too much into Marv being, what is he, 32, going on 33, I think it is. I may be a year or 2 out, so his age doesn't bother me. He looks fit. His output when he's on it is absolutely fantastic. So I don't worry about it. If we play a flat back 4, I'd question whether or not Lowe, and I don't know enough about Max, so I'll be honest with you, but I'd question whether or not, based on the bits that I have seen and read, might be a more orthodox left back than Marvin Johnson. But if we're playing a wing back, I don't worry about it at all, to be honest with you. And I think the ultimate, the objective for any football team would be to have 2 players for each position, or 4 if you're playing a 2 in a certain position, like your centre halves. Marvin Johnson as a second choice left back or a first choice left wing back for me is absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think you might be right. There was a comment there that Ash flashed up that said that Johnson's got to be back up for Lowe, surely, which I feel is sad. I mean, how do you feel about it, Ash?
I was going to say, we know that obviously Danny likes to change things up mid-game. So it'd be either, obviously, are you happy with Lowe being a left back to a wing back in a 5, or are you more happy with Johnson being a left back from a left wing back in a 4?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because obviously you've got to be able to chop and change. Like I agree with Steve. We don't know. We know a lot about Marvin, don't we? We've seen him now.
Yeah.
We know what he's about. We don't. Well, I personally don't know anything about Lowe. Things you like every team that's lost a player or sold a player to somebody else, they come on down. They say, "Oh, he's crap. He's injury prone. He's X. He's Y." Until they play for your club, you just don't know, do you? It's the Alman Abdi effect, isn't it? Watford fans were absolutely lauding him. Can't believe you got a great signing. Yeah, okay, cheers.
But mind you, that's very similar to us going, Danny Roll's rubbish. You don't want to get hold of him. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like it's the same gallows humour, Ash.
Yeah. So interesting. I agree with Stevie on the fact that where possible, you do want 2 players in the same position of good quality. And we have been guilty in the past of having an half-decent first 11, but then everything else behind it, we're like, oh, if he's injured, he's you know what I mean? It's a thing. And we played for Maywo at left back, and sometimes he was found wanting, weren't he?
I think just on that point, Ash, I think it's a fantastic sign of where we are now compared to where we were this time last year, and even 6 months ago, when we were looking at the January transfer market and we were looking at the end of the season. We're having a conversation about who is arguably been one of our better players over the last 2 years, and in contendership for player of the season. We're having a conversation about whether or not he's good enough to get in our starting 11 this year. And if that's the level that we're talking about now, it all bodes really well for what Danny Rule's done with this squad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Dan, just think, like we've just said about that, the left back situation, left wing back, the right wing back situation, it's looking like we've got a pair of players on each wing that, for me, I'd be happy with either. We've got Valentin and Valerie on the right. Obviously, we've got Johnson and Lowe on the left. And we haven't had that for ages, have we? Do you know what I mean? Confident to say whoever's going to come in whatever formation and team that Danny wants to play.
Emily and Palmer.
But we'll get to Liam Palmer in a bit. Now, Simon, we lost out this week on a player that was, I won't go as far as saying pivotal. He definitely had an input in us staying up last season. But but the tiny wee man is with the terrible haircut and all the rings, who clearly plays Warhammer, has signed for Sunderland. Is it going to be a big loss? Did we see enough of him for it to be a big loss? I must admit, I'm kind of like, can't win them all. Let's move on. What about you?
No, I'd probably sit in the same boat as you, Dan. I think what we saw, the sparks of what we saw was superb, but we didn't see enough of it. And I've got a feeling that the guy couldn't. I mean, you guys alluded to it last week. I think Charlie brought it up in regards to what was he, fourth choice in Leeds squad. You know, he'd been loaned out a number of times. Ourselves, Blackburn. I can't remember who else, but he was somebody who couldn't break into the Leeds squad. He suffered with injuries. I just think that we weren't willing to throw a huge checkbook at it. And I think that's what's happened. I think basically the agents have gone, he wants $5,000 a week or whatever it might be, 20 grand a week or whatever. And we've just gone, in the old days, we would have gone, yeah, no problem, not a problem. But this time we've actually been sensible and we've probably gone in. I think Danny did want him, but I think in the end we've just gone, nah, that's a little bit too rich for us. And we've walked away from it because I don't think we've seen enough of that player. If we'd had him all season, maybe we would be a little bit less, a little bit more upset. But you know what? Easy come, easy go. We weren't going to sign everybody, were we?
I think some Wesley fans were starting to believe that we were, mate, if I'm honest. But I'm the same. What about you, Stevie?
I'd have kept him, and I'm gutted that he's not back. I liked what I saw of him. He was the closest thing to Boris Thierry that we'd had. I understand the sentiment, and yeah, we can't win them all. I'm not on the hotline to Samaritans about it all, but I think it's with the greatest respect to what's being said here. I think anybody that's sitting here going, yeah, we move on. Yes, we do move on, but to say it in, and this isn't a dig at you, Simon, or you, Dan, to say it in such a flippant manner, I think is it's almost like we're saying, right, it's fine, we just crack on. He was outstanding last year.
So I don't want to like think, but we've said for the last few weeks, Danny Rule, we trust him. Who's not to say it was Danny's ultimate decision? Say no. So you're saying that if you're putting your faith in Danny Rule's things, you've got to, haven't you? So we do move on.
100, yeah, you're absolutely right, 100%. But I'm looking at it from a point of view of saying, right, if all things being equal, if that's what the information that we've got and we've tried to secure him, and we haven't managed to do it for whatever reason, then I'm disappointed that we've not got him. I'm also offering a talking point and being a little bit obtrusive just for discussion, if you like. But at the same time, I am a little bit further to that end of things than the conversation point here, in the sense that I thought it was outstanding. I think I put something on X in response to somebody else saying something about his injuries. He got injured and then we brought him back too soon, and I don't think that was his fault. So I don't hold too much stock in this whole is injury prone argument and conversation. If he'd have been injury free, I say this and I'll die on this hill tonight, he would have been our player of the year if he'd had an extended run from January. I don't care what anyone says.
Tell you what, Stevie, some of the comments are disagreeing with you, aren't they, Ash? Some of them are well, we've got Lost Boy there saying could be a blessing in disguise yet. And then Ben's gone with Kabatsky as a better player. Stevie, just trust me as a fellow LP2 fan. We've got fighting amongst the LP2 ranks. JJ Bloggs has gone, I'm sad to see Pervader within the team, but he would have been a risk. As they say, X's are X's for a reason. I'm pretty sure that's a neighbouring episode on How I Met Your Mother.
I think at the end of the day, there was a fantastic talent there, and putting what we saw in regards to the injuries, and I agree, Steve, we did rush him back. I think it was after the QPR game. But I think the issue more here for me is what we're willing to pay. And too many times in the past, we've spaffed money on players. Alman Abdi, we mentioned 10, 15 minutes ago. Jordan Rhodes, Forestieri, again, a South American temperamented player who saw Stephen Fletcher turn up in his Lamborghini and suddenly started, rather than taking his Audi, whatever it was, 100 grand sports
bicycle
guy, he started cycling to work, to make comments. There is a point where, and again, that could come from Danny, because the German football is very different. We know about this 51% ownership of clubs. And when we were over at Hertha, we were talking to the guys, and the fans make a decision on people's wages. And they're very much into this, that nobody is paid overinflated wages, other than the clubs that don't have 51%. Harry Kane being in particular at Bayern Munich. He's broken every... And German fans hate Bayern Munich, apart from Bayern Munich fans. They hate them because they have broken this 51%, 49% rule. It's this, there's this wage structure. We've got to have a wage structure, because what we don't want to go down the route of is 2 years, 3 years down the line, we end up getting points taken off us. He's a talent and a fantastic talent. But I would imagine that we don't want to get in a Dutch auction. Unfortunately, Sunderland have got deeper pockets than us.
But this is it. Ultimately, what we're talking about here is it's speculation, isn't it? What we're saying is we're making an assumption that he's not signed because Sunderland have offered him more money.
Well, let's be honest. Why else would you go? At the risk of sounding like Simon Jordan, you know what I mean? You're going to go, which one pays more money? They did. You know what I mean? It doesn't take a genius to work that out. But let's be honest, right? He would have been a great asset on the field. But I completely understand that in terms of bigger picture, in terms of how much is left in that transfer kitty, in terms of wages and things like that, is Paveda what we need? We still need a striker. We still need maybe another midfielder and stuff like that. And like Gary said online there, he's got a 4-year contract at Sunderland, and we were never going to give him that. We're tying players down like Deschamps Bernard at 3 max. You know what I mean? So I feel that this contract, let's say, to make the maths easy, let's say it's 25k. And over 4 years, it turns into 100 grand, right? You know what I mean? Or 3 years at Sheffield Wednesday at 25k, and that's only 75 grand. It could be made of biscuits. We don't know, right? But you're going to look after yourself, because, your career's only, it's a very short career as a footballer. But at the risk of sounding like Simon Jordan, wibble, wobble, wobbly, wibble, wobble.
I totally agree with everything that you've just said. I genuinely do. My response was to the question, am I going to miss him? Or have we missed out there? I think we've missed out on a player, but I fully concur. Bigger picture, if it means that we can secure I won't say Ugbo, because that's another conversation. If we can secure a centre forward who's going to get us 15, 20 goals, and it meant that that's contributed towards getting Bernard over the line, and we could potentially get somebody else in rather than Paveda, then absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever. I just think there are a lot of us that are sitting here going, oh.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, did that comment put you off?
That last comment just killed me.
I'm going to have to read it out now, because obviously there's people driving.
The audio.
It said, Mad Ward, old Lego head signed for the Black Cat, so we move on. And that's kind of where I am. I liked him. Don't get me wrong. I didn't dislike him, and would I have liked to have had him? Yes. But I completely understand why he's gone. And I think somebody listed a good few comments back, actually, that the attacking players that we've got, in terms of Windass, who else was on there, Ash? I put you on the spot now. I appreciate that.
Masaba. I mean, we keep forgetting about these lads who have been here
already here
now. Yeah, and now gone through a proper pre-season as well.
That's it.
The midfield we've got a rich midfield, to be honest.
Look at us, us. Right, so let's move on now. Stevie touched upon it there, Ash. There's a lot of silly money getting talked about across the interwebs in reference to Ike Ugbo. Now, would I like to see Ike Ugbo back at Sheffield Wednesday? Yes, I would. Do we break the bank in order to sign Ike Ugbo? Because Troy's are playing hardball. I appreciate this is going to be very much the same conversation, but is he worth? I mean, we've had 6 million mentioned, 4.5 million mentioned. Is he worth any of those fees?
No.
If he gets you 20 goals, he is, isn't it? Because how much is a striker in the championship that's going to get you 20 goals? Even like 10 years ago, they were paying 12 million for Ross McCormack and all that. Full championship. So I don't think we can afford. I'd love Ike Ugbo back, and I'm sure a lot would, but I don't think we can afford money, especially not 4.5, 6 million. If we can splash 2 million on a player, that is more than I would have thought this season.
Right. I'd have said the most Ike Ugbo's worth is 750k. Like, I don't understand where these prices have come from. Troy, I mean, let's say if 4.5 million is real, that is mental. Like, that's insane money, right?
Yeah, I think it's wrong to say we'd be wasting money, because if you spend 4.5 million and he gets you 20 goals, that's a great investment. It is. Right. You think, because we've always wanted a 20 goals season striker, 4.5 million. Yeah, but I don't think we have the money to gamble that to get the 20 million. But then again, that's what you're thinking. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for your striker to get 20. And I don't think we're out there. We've signed some really good, really exciting freebies. And I think, is it Kobachi? I think he was 300 grand. Another, is it Low? Not Low. Someone else for 600 grand. I think we've spent less than $1 million on 2 players this season. And we haven't got the money to, and I don't want us to fall into that chance here. Like, if you look online, Ben's probably the one, I know he's on here, that goes, I'm going to post every day until I get free Ugbo, right? And a lot of fans are, brilliant, I want Ugbo back. But what happened with Rhodes, with Chansiri? He listened.
I think Sharman's literally just written that.
Yeah.
There's literally the last comment to come through.
Listen to the fans, or perceive listen to the fans, and then what happened there. So I think he might have learned, and I don't say that about our owner very often. And there's other targets, I'm sure. So for me, I would love him back, but I don't think Sheffield Wednesday can break any sort of piggy banks. I won't even say bank. I don't think we've got money in a bank.
Where do you sit on it, Simon? You're stoically quiet.
4.5 million is just pie in the sky, isn't it? You know, if I find it difficult because he's not trained for Troy. Troy have got relegated. He's not trained for them, so he's obviously said he's voted with his feet and says he wants away. That them holding up for £4.5 million, they'll still have to pay his contracts. He's contracted, so there's a huge. Who's going to pay £4.5 million for what is effectively a championship striker? The good thing is he's 25, so he's still young. He's still got development in him. But I would agree with you. He's $1 million at a push. 4.5 million. We haven't got that. Even if we have got that, I'd go back to what we were talking about, Paveda. We need at least, I would say, 2 strikers. I think we need another midfielder, and I also think we need a centre back as well. So £4.5 million gets you an awful lot of players, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. Does anybody else have anything to add? Because I'm going to come to Stevie about his man crush. Because last week was a bit of a whirlwind. We got asked last minute, Ash and I, to speak to Liam Palmer, who's going to be celebrating his 14th season with the club. And this weekend is going to be his testimonial. Finally, if you get the opportunity to listen to that back, it's really quite interesting. But there was a moment where, because Stevie was on holiday, Ash messaged me on the side to go, how do we tell Stevie that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't know how to tell you, bro.
No, the first message was "fuck" in big capital.
We're like, does he even have internet out there? Like, you know what I mean? Does he have a device in which he can talk to? But fair play to Liam for coming on. You know, he wanted to talk about his upcoming testimonial, and there was a point, Stevie, where he was talking about there could have been a point where he got in a load of ex-pros, and it could have been a big old deal and getting all the big names, a lot like Barry named on the socials that we'll talk about in a bit. But they wanted it to be a proper preseason game where there was some, again, to coin Alex's phrase, minutes in the legs. I feel like it's a sensible decision, but I tell you what, I'm starting to join you in LP2 camp. He's an absolute dreamboat, isn't he?
Oh my God, what a guy! And I, for those people that have, if you haven't listened to it, I'd endorse it. And obviously, I'm part of the Wednesday Week podcast, but it was a real coup for us to be able to do it, and a lot of legwork has gone in behind the scenes for reasons beyond the podcast, a certain member of the panel tonight that is doing the Lord's work when it comes to supporting Liam Palmer and getting that lifted and getting it off the ground for the Wednesday fans. It's been a long time since we've had a testimonial, so to be able to go and do something like that and tie it in with an end of a pre-season, it being this pre-season with the sort of the preparation that we've gone through, going out to Germany and then coming back and making sure that we finish it off on the front foot, so to speak. I think it's been fantastic. The interview itself, he came across as a real diamond, and I've listened back to the bit that I didn't join on, and again, so some of the stuff that he talked about was fantastic. What a really good bloke, Wednesday through and through. It's the cliche, but he bleeds blue and white, and it was a joking aside, an absolute honour for me to be able to sit and have a conversation, as brief as it was, with somebody that I really look up to and respect for the reasons that have been documented previously. Liam Palmer is not the best Sheffield Wednesday player that we've ever had, but I wholeheartedly endorse the fact that he's top 5, top 8, whatever it is in terms of the appearances, because he is that kind of guy. And I've walked away from last week listening to him thinking, fucking hell, this guy deserves every plaudit that he gets, because a lot of people have got very long memories for the wrong reasons when it comes to this guy, and I still think he'll be an integral part of the squad next season. I'm honoured to have been able to have had that conversation with him, and I just love him a little bit more.
Ash, have we had an update on ticket sales? I read something like 5,500 recently. Is that where we are? There aren't many left now, are there?
They've opened up the north today, so they've opened up the north. So there's a few sections. I don't think the T1's quite open yet. They've not gone over that far, but there's not many left on the south, as to be expected. But yeah, brilliant. Open up north. If anyone can get there on Saturday, I'm sure. Like you've said, the opponent. I know everyone is like either, I don't know, Wilks, Tranmere, or Barcelona or Liverpool. But if you knew what goes into arranging a friendly, then you'd understand that it's not just Football Manager. So
sorry, Ash. Sorry to cut you off. Just on that point before you go back, I don't know who people would have wanted us to have played against. It's all right, Tranmere, because he went on loan, he's from Worksop, but what are we pulling in there? Who are we going to get over the line? And for me personally, I'd much rather at this stage, if we're going to have a testimonial at this stage of the year, I'd rather it be a competitive thing that's going to build into our preparation for the season. And if he gets to walk out and have an hour, 70 minutes, whatever it is, because, or a cameo at the start and end of, the game, if they decide that that's something that's feasible. Our lads aren't going to get 90s, and there may be 1 or 2 cameos. I don't know. I might be wrong. But I'd like to think that we're going to treat it as a proper game of football where we can go in there and be competitive and, go out and walk off the pitch at the end of the day knowing that we're ready to go a week on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Simon, I'm going to go off agenda for you. Now, Ash has put some comments aside on a talking point that I've not put in the agenda. And I'm going to come straight to you. I'm going to test your journalistic skills on this one, Simon.
Yeah.
Get him put on the spot. And
I thought we weren't doing quizzes anymore.
Oh, fucking hell, I'll be out first question then.
Now, there's been a lot of chat recently, obviously because of the way the squad's growing and the type of football that Danny wants to play, that Michael Smith's position might all of a sudden be up for discussion. Now, if you listen back to that full interview with Alex, we do talk about Michael Smith and about his role change within the squad. Danny's got him dropping deeper now and playing a little bit deeper. But we know he's lethal, or can be lethal, in and around that penalty spot when we're playing hoofball in League One. Do you feel like it might be time for Smith to move on, or do you feel like he could offer us something? Let's say we're in a tight 1-1 against a top 8 contender, and we bring on Michael Smith. What would be running through your mind, that type of thing? Because that's the way I think about it, right? I mean, how would you think about it? Would the money free up some Ugbo money, par exemple?
You see, if we were 1-0 down, I'd be bringing Pato on and not Michael Smith. I like him, a League One player. I don't think he's a Championship player. I think that's why Rotherham got rid of him to us when they went up.
I thought that's because we chucked a load of money at him, to be fair.
Well,
so. Again,
I think,
wobble, wobbly, wobble, wobble. Simon Jordan radio there for you.
I'm not his biggest fan. I don't think he's got the best of first touches. I don't think he fits into where Danny sees the team going. He did his job against Norwich. We got those 2 goals, him and Pato, but we've got rid of the long throw. Our long throw specialist has gone to Oxford. Mate, if it frees money up, I don't know what sort of money he's on. I can't imagine he's on a huge salary. But I personally, him and Malik Wilks, I'd be looking at offloading elsewhere to free up.
Well, it's weird. Obviously, it's weird you said Wilks, because I should put a few comments aside about Malik Wilks as well. And this one stuck out for me. Jay Bloggs has been on saying, where do we see Wilks fitting into this squad? I would have been certain he'd have been sold on at the beginning of the window. Just in answer to your first question there, Jay Bloggs, where do we see Wilks fitting into this squad? I don't.
Well, the thing is, he's a player again. You know, we're talking about Ugbo and chasing Ugbo, and we were chasing Paveda. He was a player that we chased, wasn't he? From Hull, and I think did we pay 750,000 for him in the end? And what return have we had for that 750,000?
He did a little dance when he signed.
Anyway,
that rip.
There you go.
Did a little Vincent Vega Pulp Fiction dance.
So again, be careful what you wish for. I think sometimes we have to stop the chasing and just go, right, we're not going to have him. We don't want you. You've gone above what we're going to pay. So back to the original question, Smith, I would look at farming him out, hopefully sell him. And I don't think he is the player that we need to finish where I think a lot of us want to finish, which is certainly top off the table.
If we bring another striker in, is effectively, what's that, 6th choice? It will be.
Is that how many we've got now?
We'll have a new striker. We've got Cadamartre, we've got McNeil, we've got Pato. No, 5th choice then maybe.
I think we've got a better blunt instrument, and that is Callum Patterson. I think he is a better blunt instrument than Smith.
Let me offer you some TalkSport contrary radio here, right? So let's go. We're playing Middlesbrough, right? It's 1-1, it's tight. Last 10 minutes, and we need to resort to hoofball. We've dropped to five at the back with wing backs. Marvin's down one side, Paul's down the other. Who, out of Bailey Cadamartre and Michael Smith, would you want on the edge of the 6-yard box to hoof it to? I feel he's got a job. He's got a job in him for that type of scenario.
Oh, is this Pato's played 65 minutes and he's scored and he's doing no else? I need the full story here, Dan. You can't.
But Pato don't really play out and out striker like that, does he? He's a bit more of a likes the wings and.
Who's he pointed to? John Barnes.
Well, go on, Steve. Let's do some TalkSport Simon Jordan Wibble Wobble Radio.
Tag team, me and Dan versus you two. I'm with Dan. I don't see Pato as an out and out 9, and I don't think Rule's going to play him as a 9. I see your point when it comes to Smith, but Wilks is a priority of getting rid of. And due respect, Wilks hasn't happened, and it hasn't worked out for him. I worry about getting rid of him before I worry about getting rid of Smith. Smith is an asset. He's one of our assets. He's not one of our more saleable assets due to his age and where he sits in terms of status. We'd agree that he's lower end Championship and League One. But when push comes to shove, I'd like to think that in the scenario that Dan's just described, he might not be a plan B, but he's certainly a plan C. And until we can replace him with something better, I don't see getting rid of Michael Smith as a priority. If I'm honest with you, I think he's somebody that we can retain for use in certain situations. And we've also got
deploy him right.
Yeah, we've also got, and I'm assuming that we'll have some sort of second string for the 2 games that we're going to play in the League Cup or whatever it'll be before we get knocked out by Watford on a Tuesday night. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to play first team players all season, and I'd much rather watch Michael Smith than Malik Wilks.
Just that on that, Ed Thomas is coming with a good one. England proved in the Euros that sometimes you're better stretching teams at the end of games when chasing rather than having a Smith/Kane type striker trying to receive the ball and link up play.
So what you're saying there, Ed, is the manager that most of the country have hounded out the number one job in the country. We want to play football like him. No, I get it. No, seriously. No, seriously, I get it. You know, we had some last minute wins and it's gave us some good times. I appreciate that. I appreciate the thought process. Now, in terms of content and output, by the way, there was some great comments popped up there, Ash. There was some absolute bangers. And now everybody's just resorted to putting the John Barnes rap into the comments. Now I've seen that for some reason. Moving on, there's some great content from the club this week. It's about 5 days ago now, so that's like 6 years ago in terms of internet time. And it's Barry Bannan's top 11 of players that he's played for. Now, I absolutely adored this video. I thought it was brilliant. And what Barry did was go into absolute depth of why he picked these players. Now, there's a few surprises in there for me.
No, he didn't. He just picked his fucking mates and the 2015 squad.
He just kept going on about the fact that Huntsy's going to call him because he didn't put him in his first team.
Let me put the team up here because hang on a minute. Julian Borner at the back, he's mental. Are you telling me?
He dropped it in, and I'm like, right, Westwood. Yeah, there was nobody else.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Tom Lees, all right. Tom Lees has played, and then he went Borner, and I went, then what?
No, Stevie, no, he didn't. He said his name, but I didn't catch it. And then he started waxing lyrical about him, and I'm like, I didn't catch who he said. And I tried to, and I was like, who's he on about? And then it flashed up this, and I'm like, oh yeah. That's exactly what I saw in that player.
There was a bit where he was like, it might surprise a couple. I'm sure he said it might surprise a couple of people. But he was a bit of a fan's favourite, and they had a cult song about him and all this, that, and the other. And I was thinking, is he going to start singing it?
He probably did. They probably edited it out. Now we know he got given a shit pen for that gig. The pen was the most frustrating thing about the video. But in terms of this 11, Simon here, I would probably argue Poodle and Borner are punching above their weight in this team. But that's a hell of a team there. That if all these players are at their prime, that's a hell of a team, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. Julian Borner aside, I thought it would have been Glenn Loovens, but he seemed to allude that he wasn't there long with Glenn Loovens, but I seem to remember that he was. But I don't know. I suppose it's who made the...
Yeah, my concern about it, Simon, here, right? If you look at it, right? Do you know what I'd change about that team? I'd put Hutchinson instead of Borner and put Barry bloody Bannan in. That's what I'd do.
Surely
I'd take
playing with himself. I'm the best. I'm playing with myself.
I'd take Hutch out and put Lopez in personally, and then we would have probably ended up in the Premiership.
Shut up, take Hutch out, man.
Before we go any further,
on that particular day at Wembley, Lopez should have played.
Can we just clip that bit where Ash starts talking about how he's playing with himself for the opening credits for 24-25?
110. That's happening. That's happening. Now, has there been any suggestions? Ben's telling me off for saying no poodle disrespect, Fudge. Listen, I'm not disrespecting Danny P. Don't get me wrong. The nudist man's always welcome round my house, the big sexy bastard. But I tell you what, I don't think he's the best left back to play with Barry Bannan.
Who was then, Dan?
Probably Marvin Johnson, as I said, but he did make a lot of explanation about. He did go into a lot of thought process about why Johnson didn't make it. And I'm going to put the substitute bench up here because there's a few names in here that didn't surprise me, but I was surprised that they weren't in the first 11. But I understood why. Now, obviously, Alex Lopez getting a shout in there was mega. I thought, there's a lot of people still angry that Carlos didn't play Lopez at Wembley in 2016. Ross Wallace, again, another shout for how funny he is and what a top footballer he is. Lucas João, he went in to talk about how he's still in contact with João, and he said he should have had a better career, but also alluded to the fact that he was a bit lazy.
Just on that then, Dan. Barry, if you're watching, drop us a DM with his number. We'll get him on for Al's alumni.
Yeah, we'll get Lucas on. It'd probably slag you off, Baz. You know what I mean? Imagine that.
He did say that if
he keeps texting me.
Yeah, he did say if he applied himself a little bit better, he would have been a lot better player. And I think you would have seen that in the way he did play. But I mean, he's the most we've got for a player up to for 6 million, was it? I think he's the most we've ever received for a player, so he's not too bad.
Sold him to Reading. Reading.
I think it was 8 million, lads. I think it was 8 million. Now, Ashley, what comments do we have about Baz's 11? What do we have? Ben's gone with. Go on, Ash. I'll let you read them out.
Glenn Leuven said the same about Zhao's potential. Quite sad if you think about it. No Darren Pearce, Rum Punch Man. I mean,
Rob.
Pre-Bannan, weren't he?
It was pre-Bannan by about 4 years. Yeah.
Lewis McGugan, shocking.
Now we're just naming players. Now,
yeah. I think we've found the left back that you were alluding to, Dan.
Go on, Adam Reach. Adam Reach not being there is a crime. Actually, there is a video of Josh Windass rather boringly talking about his goals, going, "Yeah, all right, yeah, scored that one. That was a good goal. Could have been better, but I was still absolutely, I thought it was a great little video." And there's a lot where Reach has dropped in Windass. Like there's a lot of assists from Reach to Windass, and that was interesting to watch. What else we got, Ash? Hey, I will take no Morgan Fox slander.
I can always remember on one of the early podcasts I was on. It was about Morgan Fox, and I properly went in hard on him, and it was unjust and wasn't called for.
It was I think it was the second one that I was on ever, and it was called the Morgan Fox situation. And somebody asked me a question about Morgan Fox, and I went the Morgan Fox situation. And I
went, two things about Morgan Fox. He was absolute trash when he started, then turned into a decent fullback, and then didn't want to play those remaining 7 games because COVID. And the second point is, every time there's a photo of him, he's got no ears. I don't know what happens but if you Google a picture of Morgan Fox, he's never got any ears. I don't know what sort of shape heads he's got. What are the comments we got, Smash?
We've got. I don't know. Well, they're being silly now, aren't they? Come on,
yeah. Is it? Do you know what? I should have checked, shouldn't I? Jay Bloody Bothroyd. I should have checked before I asked you to do that. Now,
I think I've got a new favourite contributor though. I think Lost Boy, because he's give you some shit, and he's got my boy there. Any look, so.
George Boyd, the best player to wear the shirt. Oh, look at you! So you and Lost Boy can have Georgie Boyd Club. Georgie Boyd,
and then Stevie can just have Liam Palmer on his own. That's how he wants it. I'm not saying there's only going to be one member. That's how Stevie wants it. It's like applications open, applications closed.
Do not click that for the credits.
The thing with George, the thing with George Boyd is anything he's synonymous with is the IKEA shirt.
Yeah,
so
that's
he was a bloody awful player, and anytime you think of him, bloody awful player, awful haircut, and a bloody awful shirt. He was doomed to begin with, wasn't he?
Yeah.
A lot of money as well.
We set him up quite badly. Now then, Stevie, this is now your update in our last section of the evening in any other business, because I know you've got some bits, right?
I'm just a very quick update, and I won't take too much time because I didn't get around to doing the graphics and sharing them with you today. We have had a couple of people getting in touch and asking about online competitions and so forth. So we've got the FPL, we've got the EPL, we've got our LMS. So just to keep people in the loop.
That was a lot of acronyms. That was, Stevie. Can we clear some of them up? We've got what? FPL. What's that one?
Right. So FPL, we're going to get the FPL Fantasy Premier League going again. We are going to do the Premier League again. No, Premier League. Because the Premiership is old enough to drink now and don't exist anymore.
Been 18 years, lads.
Evening, Simon.
Hey, John will be calling him out.
Yeah. We're going to run an FPL. We set it up last year and it kind of died a death. But we're also going to run an EPL. These are not going to be anything where there's any sort of fiscal reward or anything like that. We have mooted, myself and Ash. I've got in touch with Ash over the weekend and sort of said we're going to potentially have, managers of the month that go into a draw at the end of the season for a competition or a prize or something that comes out of our community fund. just to keep people involved and engaged, and sort of keeping things going on socials. So we'll look at that, and we'll announce that in due course at some point this week. And just as a very quick last man standing update for anybody that was involved with the last man standing last year, or has been watching and listening to the podcast over the last sort of 6-8 months, you'll be aware that in March we started the last man standing. It was one of our initiatives to try and raise some money, not for us, but to raise money for the things that we do beyond the podcast, in terms of offering opportunities for people to come to games, get shirts, tickets, experiences, so forth, which is what we're very much about, and we're going to be continuing that next season. At the moment, we've got a last man standing that has rolled over from last season, and I think there's about 5-6 people left in there with a prize of about 400 quid. That will run until it's done. It could end week 1, it could end week 4 or week 5. However, once it is done, we'll be resetting, and we'll be going again for season 24-25 Last Man Standing, edition 3, as it will be on our pod. And when we do that, we're going to be inviting as many people as possible to get involved. This one does involve money. It won't be any more than £10. We won't keep the profit. We won't keep the money. What we're going to do is we'll take a little bit of it, and that's going to go towards our community initiatives. It's not going to come to us. We're not pocketing anything or anything like that. We're not making a profit out of it. It goes directly out, and it'll be match tickets. It'll be football shirts that are costing whatever they're costing this year. It will be for people that are involved in the podcast, because this guy up there is the person with the brain. Yeah, him looking confused. Yeah,
the keeper of the purse.
Once upon a time, I had an idea, and it'd be really nice to be able to get as many people that are struggling and that might find it difficult week in, week out to be able to get to experience going to Sheffield Wednesday, certainly this season, with everything that we've talked about over the last few weeks, because it's going to be an exciting year. I think if we can offer something back, then we're going to do that. The lion's share of the profit from the last man standing will go to whoever wins. I think this year we did 70-30, didn't we?
Yeah, 70%.
Something like that. Yeah, so if we could get, I think the biggest one we had was 50 people involved. So if we can get 50 people, that's going to be, a fair whack to whoever ends up winning. It won't be 100% to you, but full disclosure, it's going to people that are part of our community. So there we go. And I've just seen Sharman. I'll be quick. I'm sorry.
I love the way that Steve has become our gambling officer. He's in charge of the Premier League, the FPL, the EPL, and the last man standing. So I'm just reading that note on the agenda. It says FPL/EPL, Fantasy LMS, and AOB. All right, sound. Yeah, that makes sense to a lot of people.
Work on Railway.
Yeah, innit? Does anybody else have anything else to add?
I do a quick, and this is a quick one. Obviously, you've just heard Stevie go on about this season's community thing. This is something that we're really pushing, want to do. If anyone has any ideas, or if they want to suggest anybody that they think deserves tickets or anything like that, please get in touch. As DMs are always open, emails are always open. Even if it's an idea that you think we could do, help someone or a charity, or if there's anything that you think might be a good idea for us to raise money or things. We've got, like I said, we've got all the LMS things. We've got, we have raffles for shirts. We're doing, what else we're doing? Well, there's all sorts of stuff in there. So anything that sounds like.
also,
so, yeah.
Sorry.
So any suggestions, anything like that, just please get in touch. We're more than well love suggestions.
And if you're the owner of a business or organisation that can help, and you want to get on board, you're listening along tonight, and you want to offer some kind of reward or anything.
Hey, any sort of sponsorship, any donations of anything we could raffle off, or anything. If you've got your business you work for or anything. Hey, good idea, Steve. See, even Stevie has ideas.
Even Stevie, the teacher, with the degree.
Yeah, please do. We're trying to get as many Wednesdayites to get to Hillsborough. And we love it. Last season it was fantastic. We want to build on that. We want to get. I think we gave away 70 tickets. I want to do 100 this year. I want to do 100. So there we are. There's a target for us.
Christ. And 700 Easter eggs, Ash. Is that your plan?
Yeah. No, we've got to get to 1,000 Easter eggs next.
God almighty.
1,000.
What's the matter with you?
Yeah.
All right, listen.
I'm
gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Don't forget, I will upload the episode once again to YouTube. If you don't mind giving us a like and subscribe if you haven't already, that would be super duper in a brown mini coupe with a pooper scooper. In the meantime, see you later. Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.